Hi everyone, I'm Lena. I have been a foster parent I've been licensed for 5 years, but I have had kiddos in the home for 4. We currently have a sibling set of 4. Foster care is not black and white. So 2 of our kiddos are through guardianship. They were in foster care and now we have guardianship. And the other 2 kiddos, we just adopted from foster care 2 weeks ago. And they all share a mom, there's a few different dads, and it's nice to have them reunited back together. When I was 9 years old, my aunt took in 3 foster kiddos herself. She ended up adopting them. And so I learned about foster care. I learned about their story. And at 9, I was just horrified of the things that they had been through. And I told myself that I would do whatever I could to help other kids not experience what they did and to make life better for them.
Thanks, Lena. I'm really excited that you're here with us today. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted to do this at the beginning of the training, but I think this is a good time to pause. We did just kind of want to take a moment of silence and acknowledge the loss that happened at Robb Elementary School yesterday afternoon in Texas. For those of you who don't know, there was an active shooter at the school who unfortunately shot and killed 19 students as well as 2 teachers. So, this is obviously a very sad time for our country and especially for the community of Texas and Robb Elementary. So if we could just take about 30 seconds to just kind of have a moment of silence and acknowledge that loss, that would be really great before we get started into the call today. Thanks, everyone. And I apologize again for not doing this at the beginning of our training, but I do think that it is a very necessary time to just kind of, feel and grieve the loss of, those families in Texas that are having a difficult time right now. So today, in the realities of foster care training, Lena and I are going to talk with you guys about a plethora of things. We're going to talk about a little bit about the foster care statistics. So what the reality looks like right now in Kent County in terms of foster care. We're also going to give you guys some pointers and tricks about accepting placement, intervening with some challenges you may experience throughout a foster care case, as well as some resources that are available within your community. And then, like I said at the beginning of the session, about 15 minutes before the end of our training today, we will have an opportunity for you all to ask Lena and myself some questions that you may have in regards to foster care and accepting placements. So at any given time in Kent County right now, we're seeing that there are about 600 children that are entering our foster care system. 1/3 of these children are not going to be placed in their communities or with their siblings, and that's due to a significant lack of foster homes within our county. So, children that are entering our system, we want them to be placed within their communities so that it's somewhat familiar to them as well as within their siblings. And unfortunately, this isn't able to happen currently. Additionally, if you guys joined us last week for the presentation that was hosted by my peer Ebony, you would learn that children of color are significantly overrepresented in foster care. And in some areas, that's by a margin of almost 3 to 1. And again, just to kind of highlight the fact that there aren't enough foster homes to provide care for the children entering our system. When we're looking at the foster care numbers in Michigan. In 2019, there were 13,750 children who entered the foster care system, and we only had 4,600 licensed foster homes. So that's a huge margin right there. And just really highlights the fact that we don't have enough homes for these kids that are entering our system. I'm going to pass it on, to Lena. So Lena, I'd love for you to just kind of walk us through what accepting a placement looks like. So when you have been called for placement or you have accepted placement into your home, what are some important questions that you find it beneficial to ask when you're considering that foster care placement?
Yeah, so one of the first things that I ask is age, where they currently live. If they are coming from biological home, another foster home, residential, wherever they're coming from, what grade they're in, the school that they go to, any extracurricular activities that they're a part of, whether it be sports, just school clubs, anything like that. If the children has any special needs, anything that I would need to be aware of. And I always ask the question, can you please tell me as much as you can? They don't always know everything right up front when a placement is coming into care, but they are able to get you that info. So I just ask that they tell everything right up front that they know.
Awesome. So when you say that they provide the information as they get it, could you provide insight into kind of how long of a time span that is? Like, are you learning information that you asked, within 24 hours, or is it longer than that?
It honestly just depends. Each case is so different. So as the caseworker is working more with the parent and is learning more about them, learning more about the kids, going to court, you learn info. So that as a foster parent, it's always important to be active in the court proceedings. So that way, you know what's going on and you learn more yourself. It could be 24 hours. It could be a month. It just really depends. I found that talking to the current teachers also helps get some info.
I love that you bring up talking with other supports in that child's life. As a foster parent, you're very new to that child a lot of the times, and being able to make communications and community with people who have been involved in that child's life for longer than you have been makes a lot of sense to kind of get more ideas about, what this child needs from you during the time they're placed in your home. When you're considering placement, is there a conversation that's had with your family, like the kids that are in your home or your husband or extended family members? Can you walk us through what a conversation may look like in that stance?
Yeah, I think that there's a few different conversations that we have had to have, and the conversations change depending on who we're talking to. So if it's the kids in the house and spouses, it's always just saying, at least what we've done is, so-and-so needs a home. They're 6 years old or whatever it may be, their age, where they go to school, they need a safe place to live for now. And don't really share any specifics, but just try getting the kids excited and ready to be supportive for that kid to come in. Including the current kiddos in the home with the planning of the additional kiddos coming in is always really important. It makes them feel involved and not left out. So whether you're getting bedding, toothbrushes, anything like that, taking them shopping with you, that's been really helpful as well. With family members that are not in the home, it's always, we have an addition, it's a girl, it's a boy, their age, their name. We're so excited for you to meet them, and we appreciate your support.
Awesome. Thanks, Lena. I love that you talked about what that conversation looks like with other kiddos in your home. In my role, I talk with a lot of foster parents or potential foster parents that are very worried about how to have those conversations with their kids. Sometimes kids haven't had an exposure to what foster care is or what foster care does. And so I love that you involve your kids in that conversation and have that, very real conversation with them about this child just needs a place to stay right now and to be safe. And we're going to accept them into our family for the time being. Thank you. So walk us through what accepting a placement looks like. So you get the phone call from your agency and you say, yep, we'll accept them into our home, into our family. And then it's usually a CPS worker or the agency social worker who's dropping that child off at your home. Are there any questions that you ask or anything that you can kind of suggest for our viewers to prepare yourself for that initial meeting with the child?
In our house, what we've done is just keep it normal. So continue to do whatever we're doing. But as you're making dinner, as you're doing your nighttime routine, you're just explaining like what you're doing and why. As you're cooking dinner, say, oh yeah, what's your favorite food? And just have that small talk with them. It takes the pressure off the kid. The kid is in a new home, doesn't know anyone. So it helps just take the pressure off without having all the attention on them being new.
Mm-hmm.
That's helped a ton.
Yeah, you're able to kind of normalize that child's experience and not put emphasis on the fact that they're in a stranger's home and that they, are probably very confused and hurt about what's going on currently within their home. Thanks, Lena. So I'm going to take a pause here and we're going to watch a video. So this is an individual who was in foster care herself as a child, and she really just talks about the experience through the eyes of a child. So we're going to watch this video here.
Being taken from place to place and
I'm sorry. Technical difficulties.
being taken from place to place and being sent to a whole new different city and a whole new different family and people that you've never met before. It's a really confusing experience. You just feel torn away from your community. It's like, just imagine that you were going to work one day and it's just a normal day and you're on your way to work and everything is as it's supposed to be, and you watered your dog and you drank your coffee and you tell your kids goodbye and you go to work, and then the police show up at your job and they say, okay, we're moving you to a totally different city and you don't know anybody and you can't call your family and you can't call any of your friends and you need to leave your phone here and you can't take any of your stuff with you. We'll figure that out later. And they just pick you up and they...
Sorry, guys.
Being taken from place to place. Just here, play with this little toy, okay, put this little ring on a hook. And then they send you to these really well-meaning people but you have no idea who they are, and their house smells different, and maybe they have a dog, and they have hardwood floors, you've only ever had carpet. Like, everything about the experience is alien to you. And all you want is to be able to contact the people that you have a bond with. It's a very disrupting experience. And in a lot of ways, it's a traumatic experience because all of these things are unexpected, and suddenly everything in your world that you felt was safe and secure and concrete is not. And having those ideas shattered is really difficult, especially as a child, because you need that security. You need to know that here's my bed, I can come home to it, and this is where it's gonna be, and that's gonna be okay. Or here's my mom, and no matter what, she's gonna be there for me, and I can just call her and she'll show up, and that's gonna be okay. When you can't believe that anymore, it starts to make you question, well, what can you believe? Who can you trust? What is a for sure thing? You begin to stop valuing certain things. You stop valuing relationships because they're not concrete and they're not going to be there forever. And you stop investing yourself in certain things. And all of a sudden, stability isn't really important to you. Having goals isn't important to you. You are concerned with, where are you going to sleep tonight? Are you going to be safe? Who are these people? Doing a simple thing like taking a shower in a stranger's home is a very disconcerting experience. So the more that you get moved around, the more trauma that you endure in that. Every single move is a traumatic experience. So you can see the consequences later on. And really you can see the consequences pretty early on. As a child who's in foster care, I exhibited signs of not being able to trust other people, of not wanting to connect. I had some really antisocial behavior. I also had a deep dislike for government agencies, for the police, for social workers. Like, I did not believe that they were on my team, because when I'm telling you that this is what I need and you're just not listening and you're saying, well, this is what we feel you need, I can't trust you any longer. As a child, you do not have the capacity to forward think. You are not able to, and scientifically your brain isn't even wired to do that yet. And so the decisions that you're making are pure emotional. When you're dealing with a traumatic situation and when the people around you don't have the tools to help you deal with that, the decisions that you're making are pure instinctive. And so I just know that if I have this incredible amount of sadness and this incredible amount of fear and I don't know what to do with it, well, maybe I should just run away. Maybe I should do drugs. Maybe I should get in fights. Maybe I should cuss out my foster parents. There's all kinds of different things that happen. None of those things were planned. All of those things were unintended consequences because I didn't know how to deal with the original emotions that I was facing. And so I really just want people to understand that these kids just need help. I don't understand how there's so much funding for foster care benefits, for adoption benefits, for emergency shelters. There's so much funding for that, but there's no funding for family preservation. And had my mom just had a little bit of help, had she have had enough money to buy her own vehicle, had she had enough money to relocate herself from an abusive situation, had she not had to depend on men in the first place for any kind of financial stability, I don't believe that she would have made some of the decisions that she would have made. I don't believe that she would have struggled as a mother, because my mom is a good mom. She just had some hardships and she had nobody to help her. And so I don't understand how there's so much funding to take us away, but there's no funding to keep us there.
So this woman, I think, does a very good job articulating the confusion and the frustration that children are feeling when they're removed from their parents. And I'd like to speak a bit about that first night. So the woman in the video spoke about how, even just taking a shower in a stranger's home is a very uncomfortable feeling. And the role and expectation for foster parents is to not only have an understanding of the discomfort that a child may feel, but also assisting that child in becoming more comfortable and feeling safe in their foster home. So Lena, you did touch on this a little bit, but just walk us again through that first night after accepting a placement. What are kind of some things that your family has been very intentional in doing to ensure that a child feels safe?
Just having them involved, but the biggest thing is not having all the attention on them, just making them feel a part of the family and letting them know like why you do things, or okay, so we're getting ready for bed, this is what our bedtime routine looks like every night, this is what we'll do, and what do you normally do for your bedtime routine? And as you're brushing your teeth, oh, do you like mint toothpaste or do you like bubblegum toothpaste? Showing, those little interest in what they like, what they're used to is going to help you bond with them. You're also learning about them. So the first night, like all that stuff is so important, including them in to what you're doing in your night.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some creative ways that your family has made that child feel comfortable in your home? So I heard you say the toothpaste, like even just the flavor of toothpaste is something I didn't even think about until you said that. Like, that's a really great way in just ensuring that that child feels comfortable. What are some other things that you guys have done?
We've talked about bedding. Some kids really prefer weighted blankets. They prefer just a light blanket, a huge comforter. So just figuring out what they like, getting that for them. We have, for one of our kiddos, taken them to the store and then let them pick out their own stuff for their bedroom. Mm-hmm. And that helped as well. It made them feel respected and appreciated. They were able to make choices for themselves that they've probably have never got to make before. So that's just really big and help creating that bond.
Yeah. I can imagine it helps them feel like they're a part of your family too. You know, if you're letting them choose the things that are theirs and only theirs. So it's not like they come into a room that's already decorated or already, you know, equipped with all of the things that they need. But if you're letting that child have the autonomy to choose things that they want, that they can keep, that's got to be huge to help supporting a child in your home.
Yeah, our kiddos have said that's helped them. They've been able to relay that. I also, another thing I do is do check-ins with them. Like, hey, is everything going okay? Do you need anything from me? You know, let me know. Showing the kids around the house, and just letting them know. And then with the girls that we have a special notebook. So if they're upset or they want to share something, but they're just not able to verbalize it, they can write it down, and then they'll just leave the notebook in a certain spot, and then only I read it, and then I can like write back to them. And that has helped a lot, because they might be too shy to give their needs or share how they're feeling. So the notebook has helped a lot.
I love that. That's a great idea. So you're learning a lot about a child during the first few weeks that they're placed in your home. And I'm sure you're learning a lot about the foster care case and the reasons as to why they were placed in your home. Can you give our viewers some tips on how to advocate for the child in your care during those first few weeks? So what are some things that you kind of find are imperative for that child to be involved with as soon as they enter your home?
So when they're first coming in, figuring out what services they already have. Again, checking in with the teacher, checking in with the principal. If they are close to any current mentors that they may have, some schools have mentoring programs. So just checking in with the current players and figuring out what the child has, what they think the child needs, what they see, and then communicating with the child, talking to them. If you know it's a teen, they might know what they need, and so they can verbalize that to you. But then it's a lot of like investigative work, just figuring out what they need and then going for it. And sometimes it's easy to get what they need, and sometimes you just have to push a little bit.
Sure. And it's okay to do that pushing and that advocating.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lena. So I've got a video here for us to watch. So this is about a foster mother named Brittany. And she's a wonderful foster mom who does a lot of the same things that Lena does. And so I'm going to just share this to kind of show some tips and tricks that she's provided to the internet about specifically supporting fostering teens.
So first of all, you're awesome. Okay, you've survived bad days that most people couldn't imagine. Inside my pantry is where I keep what I call my foster closet. These are all my supplies that I use to make those welcome baskets that you may have seen. So we've got our blankets. Every child gets a fuzzy blanket. We've got journals and pens, because there's a lot of big feelings, especially that first night that they're here. All of the rules in my house have a basis of respect. Respecting each other, respecting each other's property, each other's time, each other's feelings. When it comes to foster care, what's more important than rules is a relationship. Person that you are deserves love. They are worthy of wonderful and amazing things. And in case no one has told you today, I am proud of you.
So I don't know if any of us on the call are like me and find themselves getting lost on TikTok or Reels or whatever the new thing is on Facebook. That's all the short videos. But this woman's wonderful. She shares a lot of amazing, just kind of out of the box ideas. She's Foster the Teens on TikTok if you guys wanted to check her out.
Can I add something in about the video?
Absolutely.
So I love that she talks about experiences. My first kiddo that came to me was a girl, and she was 6, and she had never in her life been trick-or-treating, and she had never been able to celebrate her birthday. And so being able to do those two things with her just completed my life. It was awesome to just see her feel so loved and just be able to experience it. It's just really indescribable. But it's making these memories, whether they're 6 or they're 16, that's something that's going to live with them for a lifetime. And it's amazing.
Thanks for sharing, Lena. I think that's such a good point. Like, what better way to make a child feel welcome in your home than truly involving them in every single piece of your family? So whether that includes trick-or-treating or holiday parties or going on vacation with you, whatever that may look like, it's so important to involve the children that you're caring for into those types of activities. So now I'm going to talk about the trigger word, probably the honeymoon phase. Lena, I'm sure you're very familiar with honeymooning. So what are kind of some telltale signs that maybe the child is in their honeymoon phase when they're placed in your home?
So the biggest is they're just, yep, okay, I'll do it. Super compliant, super excited to help out, extra helpful, doing any and everything you ask, and even kind of going like above and beyond and taking care of their own stuff, really just trying to watch out for themselves, trying to be super bubbly, but you can see just deep down that it's, they're struggling. They have a lot of really big emotions. That's the biggest that we've experienced in the house.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's important as a foster parent to recognize that that's not how the child truly is, and that a lot of those behaviors are probably coming from a place of discomfort and not knowing how they can express their feelings or do the things that they want to do in a stranger's home. So can you speak on a little bit about what a foster parent should do during this honeymoon phase? So does that include like setting boundaries or expectations or just anything else that's important for you to do to kind of prepare for what happens after the honeymoon, if you will?
Yes. So I have personally tried just like breaking the honeymoon period. So things that I do is I set boundaries and expectations right away. One thing that I tell myself a lot, and I tell other foster parents, is like, you always have to connect before you correct their behavior. So if I see the honeymoon phase, like I'm seeing the signs, I will nicely call them out on it. Hey, thank you so much for helping. I appreciate it, but you don't always have to take care of things for other people, or, whatever it may be. And then the boundaries from the beginning. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't, in this house, that's not what we do. We can't do that, but we can do this. And just setting it from the beginning, because if you let them come in and just give them free range, don't have any boundaries, you're just trying to scope them out, when you do set the boundaries later on, or the expectations, then they're going to be in shock and be like, what, but they let me do it before, or, oh, now they're mean. So just setting the boundaries right up front is the best.
I can imagine too, it's hard accepting a child into your home and not wanting to just shower them with everything and anything that they ask for. So I love that you talk about setting those boundaries and expectations right away, so that you're preparing that child for what it's going to look like in your home for as long as they're there with you. That's a really great point. Oops. All right. So what are some things so this is, talking about what happens after the honeymoon phase, what's happening throughout the foster care case. As you know, Lena, and as everybody who's attending this call, if you don't know, foster care's main goal is always to reunify a child with their biological parent. And it's the expectation that a foster parent helps and supports that and facilitates that reunification. So Lena, can you share a bit about what your family has done to help facilitate and support reunification?
Yes. So I've always attended FTMs, which is family team meetings, always attended court. And I made sure that the kids were prepared for visits to that kind of like help set the parent up for success. At the family team meetings and at court, just having conversations with the parents. Hey, how's it going? Sounds like visit's going good. Or, oh yeah, I heard you guys did this at that visit. Just trying to connect with the parents. And then at court, I always brought some updated pictures or things that the kids have done. We were blessed to be able to bring our kiddos out of state during foster care, which you have to get approval first. And some bio parents don't feel comfortable with it, which is fine and understandable, but we were able to, so I made sure to make photo books of that to give the parents, and they appreciated that. So those are things that we did to help facilitate reunification.
Great, thank you. What are some challenges you guys have experienced? I know that we were talking earlier before this training, and challenges are inevitable. Not everything is always great in your home, and it's just a matter of being able to address those challenges and come out stronger on the other end. So what are some challenges that your family has experienced throughout fostering?
So we have two big ones that come to mind. The first one is, so we have 4 kiddos, and 2 of them rights completely terminated for mom and dad. The other 2 rights terminated just on mom. Dad still has rights. That's been a really big challenge because it brings a lot of different emotions. Well, why can these siblings be adopted but not these? It's been huge. It's hard. They're young. It's hard to explain and understand. They don't feel as they want to be adopted as well, like with their siblings. So that's been a huge challenge. And then our kiddos at removal, the 3 girls were together and the brother was placed separately. Then 8-9 months into placement, one of the I had done respite for the 3 sisters, and then I was asked to take one of the girls. So I took one, and then the brother was still alone, and then the 2 girls were still together. So maintaining the sibling relationship between them, made it a little bit tricky. There's now 4 kids, 3 foster homes. And then last year, my husband and I, the 2 oldest needed to be adopted, and we had the 2 youngest. And my husband and I were like, they just really need to be together. When they're together, they love each other, they miss each other. The youngest girl, who I've had the longest, she would stay up a lot at night crying. She missed her siblings and worried about them. When they're not with them, they just worry, who are they with? Are those people nice to them? Just a lot of things that these young kids should not even have to worry about or think about. So after these kids have been apart and then reuniting the 4 of them, it's been a huge blessing. But it's also been a challenge for the 4 kids to figure each other out. They're not the same as they were when they were removed over 4 years ago. So it's been a challenge.
Yeah. So just to clarify for my own purposes, the kids were placed in 3 separate homes when they were removed. And then 4 years later, they were brought back together all under one roof under your home. That's huge. Yes. That's amazing. And I can imagine, like you said, it's exciting, and that's where the kids want to be, but that's 4 years not living with each other. I can't imagine not living with my sister for 4 years and then just having to go back to like normal, whatever normal is. So I'm sure that was a huge challenge, and just kind of having everybody learn how to live with each other again.
Yeah, it's, I thought that it was just gonna be rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what they wanted,
Yeah, when
Yeah.
the youngest is having problems at school and he's acting out, the teachers will, so Alexis went and helped Mason today when he wasn't doing so well and gave him a hug, and then he was fine. And okay, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Those are the moments that
Yes.
remind you that you're doing great work. Well, I'd love to talk about kind of your toolbox and the supports that your family has, because, Lena, and just knowing you outside of this presentation, I know that you're a huge advocate for supports within the foster care community. So what supports does your family have to promote your well-being, right? So you're experiencing all of these challenges with the kids under your roof. Like, how do you stay sane, and how do you and your husband Josh kind of keep it together? Good question.
The biggest thing is the foster parent support group has been phenomenal. I'm part of a few foster parent groups on Facebook, and it's nice to, hey, this is what we're going through today. Has anyone went through this? Does anyone have any suggestions? Like, that's just been really helpful, just feeling heard and understood. That's a lot. My biggest self-care would be, I go get my nails done every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's huge. That's me time. Yeah.
It is. It's my time.
Mm-hmm.
And for right now, I'm not working, just to kind of keep getting everyone adjusted to life. There's 5 kids in the house and 2 adults, so we got a pretty big family now. So still just trying to help and keep things afloat. There's a lot of appointments, so not working has been helpful with my sanity.
Sure, for sure. Can you speak a little bit on the importance of the relationships that you've built with fellow foster parents and just others that are involved within the foster care community?
Yes, so I have found myself talking to, being friends with, communicating with other foster and adopted parents more than I do friends that I've had for a long, long time, or even family. They get my kids. My kids don't have to be someone that they're not. If we're all together and one of my kids loses their mind, there's no judgment. They all get it. They've all been there, and we all step in and help each other out. So that's been amazing. The foster parent support group, again, is super important to be a part of and go to. Mm-hmm. I've met some amazing people, and having a good relationship with the workers, your licensor, and just building connections.
Absolutely. Awesome. Any other resources that you would think would be beneficial for our participants to know of that maybe would be helpful for them to learn more?
Yeah. If you're, on the line of deciding, are we gonna get licensed? Are we not? Get a background check, do what you have to do, and do some respite and get a feel for it. If you do get licensed and you have kiddos in your home, utilize respite. There are other families out there that are more than willing to jump in and give you a break and help you out. And that's part of building your own community and using them as a resource.
Absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up, Lena. I was thinking in the back of my head that I wanted to talk about respite with you, because that's how you became connected with a lot of the people that you're still connected with today. But for those of us in the call that don't know what respite is, it's like a short-term care of a foster youth that's currently placed in a foster home. So respite can be anywhere from a couple hours to 10 days. And it's just an opportunity to give that foster parent of the child a break. Like Lena said, if you're somebody in the call who doesn't know if you want to take the step forward and becoming officially licensed yet, respite's a great opportunity to kind of get an idea of whether or not this is something your family's interested in doing. One while also, you know, supporting these children that need it the most. So if you're interested in respite, reaching out to one of the 5 private agencies in Kent County or Foster Kent Kids, we can definitely help in getting you connected with doing respite and becoming cleared to provide respite to the children that we serve within the county. All right, so I do see that we have a couple questions. So this would be a great opportunity for our participants. If there's anything that you want to ask Lena or myself, or if there's anything that you want us to kind of revisit or touch on further, to utilize that Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen. We're going to take like the remainder time of this training to just kind of answer the questions that you guys have. So the first question is for you, Lena, and it's, in the years that you've been fostering, how many children have you fostered? So I think this would be a good opportunity for you to just kind of share your journey, share how you got with us.
Yes. So I have fostered 5 total. And we have done respite for 7 kids. So I used to live in Fremont and then moved to Grand Rapids. And then when I moved to Grand Rapids, I changed from Newaygo County DHS, being licensed, to Samaritas. And I had not had a placement yet. I was single, and I had gotten a call to do respite for these 3 girls. The foster parents just needed a little break. It's like, sure, I'm a girl, they're girls, like, this is going to be fun, you know? And they came, and I didn't want to give them back. It was a lot of fun. We did nails, we hung out. And so I gave them back to their foster parent. And a couple of weeks later, I had gotten a call for the one girl. So then I had her for just over a year by herself. And then her brother, we knew that the case wasn't going towards termination for the dad, but the kids were not going to go home. So they had asked me to do guardianship. And so at that point, I agreed to guardianship, and the brother had moved in. So that way, those 2 were together, and then the 2 older girls were still together. And then about a year and a half, I think after that, 2 years maybe, then the 2 girls had moved in. Then they were all together. But the 7 kids that we've done respite for it's been so fun. We've taken them camping, and it's great.
Thanks, Lena. We've got a follow-up question, and I can answer it or you can. But someone asks, what is guardianship?
So it is, I know, but it's hard. It's like just having custody of the child. So I make all the decisions for the kids as if I'm their parent.
Yep. So it's implemented through the courts still. The guardianship is granted to you, Lena. Parental rights are still intact. So that's kind of where the difference is, in that parents' rights haven't been specifically terminated for that child. So the difference is that there could be an opportunity, like, for the guardianship to be dissolved, in which the children would then be could potentially go back to their parent, but that's something that would have to go through the entire legal process and isn't something that would happen like straight overnight or anything like that. This next question here is there an average amount of time that children are fostered for? I'm sure Lena has fostered children for all different types of lengths of time. I can tell you guys that the average amount of time is anywhere between like 12 to 18 months right now. We have seen those numbers kind of go up due to COVID, and just kind of the span of time that has gone for a court case. But to answer your question, an average amount of time that children are fostered for is 12 to 18 months. And I should clarify that that's the amount of the foster care case. That doesn't necessarily mean that child stays in the same home for that full 12 to 18 months, although we would love for that to happen. as Lena can attest to, and as she has shared, there are times in which children are moved from one foster home to another for a variety of reasons, whether that's because, in interest of keeping siblings together, it makes sense to move them in with a sibling, or just in the matter that, a foster parent's unable to care for the needs of the child that are presenting. So my question another question that we have in the Q&A is, how can we best support foster parents through worker transitions? That's a really great question. So Lena, in your time licensed, have you ever had to experience worker transitions?
Yes.
What are some things that workers can do, licensing workers or agency staff, that would best support foster parents throughout that transition?
So we've had the same licensor the whole time, and she's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
For caseworkers, for the younger two kids, the original caseworker went on maternity leave and then took a different position. So both the old worker, the new worker, both came out together to meet myself, meet my husband, meet the kids. And then we just kind of talked about like what was going on, what's the plan. And so everyone was caught up together, and that was really helpful. Just when they left, everyone was on the same page. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like, oh, new worker, now it's a whole new ball game. For us, it was not like that.
Yeah.
My older two girls, each their adoption worker changed, and there wasn't as much communication. It didn't go as smooth, but she was great, and it all ended out okay. But just having that communication, sometimes foster parents just need to be a little bit outspoken. Caseworkers, licensors, everyone's busy. And so just having the nudge and reminders, I've been told, is helpful.
Yeah, I love too that you speak about the communication, because I can imagine too, it's difficult for a child to have a new caseworker after they've essentially told that caseworker everything that's going on in their life. They've gotten that attachment to the caseworker. They've talked with the caseworker about really difficult things. And then for somebody to come in and say, okay, I'm your new worker, it would be really hard to be like, oh, I have to hash this all out again. Like, are you kidding me? So I love that your worker did that, where they came out together so that, the caseworker who was taking over the case could have an understanding of, okay, this is what things look like. I can just pick up where the previous worker left off.
Yeah. And a lot of these kiddos have trust issues. I mean, they were taken from the only people that they know, and now they're with strangers, and now they're having to talk to these workers who they don't know. So they build that trust with the caseworker. And then they were like, my two kiddos were able to see that, okay, so this caseworker trust this other caseworker, so I trust her, so I should be able to trust her as well. And it was good for that. It was a smooth transition for us.
Yeah, just a good continuation of care for the kids, for sure. So Lena, I'd love for you to just kind of take a minute and tell everybody that's listening today what you would like for them to take away. So what's kind of the closing remarks on your end about what people should know about the realities of foster care?
It's hard work. It's amazing. I have two things to share. The last week at school, my 8-year-old son's teacher says, okay, class, he's in first grade. Okay, class, close your eyes and think about something that makes you happy. And she said all the kids had their eyes closed and were just smiling. And afterwards, she went and asked me, okay, so like, what were you smiling about? Like, what made you happy? And my 8-year-old said that I have a family now. And that made any bad behavior, any rough day, anything just completely, it was worth it. It was worth everything to know that he knows that he has a family, and now that, and he feels loved, and it's why I do what I do. And then also, if you're on the fence of getting licensed or not, you're just kind of getting more information, don't just take one person's experience and base your decision off of that. There's good experiences, bad experiences, mediocre experiences. Nothing nothing is perfect. Things can be a little bit tough, but don't base your decision off of one experience. Yeah.
Thank you, Lena. That's really important. So I would just like to end today's presentation by providing you guys with my contact information as well as Lena's. So if there's anything that was talked about during today's training that you'd like more information on, or if you are finding yourself in the boat where you would like to find more information on fostering or providing respite care, we'd be happy to help you. I'd also just like to take a minute to thank everybody because this is our last Foster Care Awareness Month series through Foster Kent Kids. So we just appreciate everybody's participation and involvement throughout the month of May. If you'd like more information about Foster Kent Kids, or again about foster care and potentially becoming a foster parent, you can like our Foster Kent Kids Facebook page, and you can also visit the website at fosterkentkids.care. I also want to thank Lena for being here this afternoon. I appreciate all of the great advice and tips and tricks that you've offered to our participants. And then finally, just thank you to everybody who's participated this afternoon, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.